Jeremiah chapter 4. And remember, last week, we in verse 15, for a voice declareth from Dan, that's the northernmost tribe, and publisheth affliction from Mount Ephraim. Okay, so we've got a voice declaring and publishing affliction. Okay. And verse 16, make ye mention to the nations, behold, publish against Jerusalem. You know, you get the idea. First of all, voice declaring is a voice shouting affliction, and publishing it, getting it written down in big headlines in the newspaper, or whatever they, or on papyrus or whatever they were using in those days. So make ye mention to the nations, behold, publish against Jerusalem, that watchers come from a far country, that's spies and all of that, come from a far country, and they're going to be coming from Babylon, and give out their voice against the cities of Judah. Okay? This is all declaring what's going to happen to Judah and Jerusalem in a few years. From the time of Jeremiah is preaching this. And so we start in verse 17. As keepers of a field are they against her round about. Keepers of a field. He's comparing the tents, if you will, of the besiegers. Remember, eventually Nebuchadnezzar and he won't be there, but his captain of the army will. When they come down and besiege Jerusalem, they'll be having their tents spread out around the city, and all of that as keepers of a field. It's comparing it to, if you will, watchers, shepherds or husbandmen protecting their flocks. Okay? That's the idea here. So as keepers of a field, they're the besiegers. They're the people that are out there besieging Jerusalem, and compared to the booths erected by the shepherds, are they against her round about? Okay, again, that's surrounding the city. That's usual siege things, surrounding the city, and because why are they there? Why are these besiegers there? Because she hath been rebellious against me, saith the Lord. Okay? He explains what is going to happen. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be terrible. The city's going to be sieged. And why? And again, it all boils down to, okay, whose fault is it? It's not. Now God did allow Nebuchadnezzar, a heathen, who actually, if you kind of read the Bible closely, we may get to meet him in heaven, okay? Because of what happened with him and Daniel. But anyway, so there, he gives the reason, okay? Guys, people of Jerusalem, Judah, it's all your fault. It's not God's fault. Okay, it's not somebody else's fault. It's yours. It's because of your, again, the old pointing the finger. You've got 3 pointed back at you if you're pointing the finger. It's their fault. No, you got 3 more fingers pointing back at you. It's all our fault, their fault. Okay. Keep her, because she has been rebellious against me, saith the Lord. So, guys, you want to know why this is going to happen to you? You caused it. You rebelled against me. You forgot about me. You started worshiping those idols. Thy way and thy doings have procured these things unto thee. What you've been doing, procured. You went out and bought it. You went out to the store and you bought it and you took it home on yourself. Okay? That's kind of the idea. You bought it, you brought it home. It's your fault. Have procured these things unto thee. This is thy wickedness, your wickedness. And God is pointing his finger at Jerusalem and Judah because it is bitter, because it reacheth into thine heart. And remember, we talking about in verse 14 last week, he's saying, Jerusalem, wash thine heart from wickedness. Clean up your heart. And circumcise yourselves to the Lord, because it's going to be, you're in deep, deep doo-doo. And because it reaches into your heart, all your wickedness, it goes down deep. Okay? And now we come, verse 19, if you will, a cry of pain here in verse 19. There are a series of expressions in which the people express their grief express their grief at the ravages committed by the enemy. My bowels, my bowels. Any of you ever had a really, really bad, stomach ache? Well, that's what we're talking about here. My bowels, my innermost being are crying in pain, howling in pain. I am pained at my very heart. My heart maketh a noise in me. Okay? And again, you can kind of liken in your life if you've ever gone through any kind of really tragic, vexing situation, okay, that get your heart going. That's one of the reasons they are delaying the biopsy on my prostate is because they're going back to the day that I went the emergency room for my breathing and my blood clots. Well, they took an EKG back then, okay, and it was apparently it was racing, okay. I'm in the emergency room, and they're taking EKG on me, and it's racing, and now they're saying, well, we're going to put off until you see a heart doctor about this EKG taken 3 years ago, pre-COVID, December 8th of 2019, because my heart was racing, okay? And if you've ever been in kind of a situation, I didn't think my heart was racing, but apparently it was. It was going to town because my heart rate was way up, according to them. So that's kind of the picture here. Similar picture here. If you've ever gone through anything like this, really, what can I say? Really get your heart going. Okay? Sometimes it's something drastic like a physical ailment, or sometimes your heart can even race when you look out and you find your first love. Okay. And go on your first date, anyway. But my heart maketh a noise in me. I cannot hold my peace, because thou hast heard, O my soul, the sound of the trumpet, the alarm of war. Okay? Again, if you're in a city that's going, and the army is coming, and they're surrounding your city, and the sieging army is blowing their trumpets, announcing, we're here, we're here. Remember, back in the Bible, okay, whenever the children of Israel went to war, they would get out there and they were singing and shouting and praising God. You remember that couple of the stories there in the Bible about that? Well, and it was throwing fear, they were making so much noise that it was throwing fear into their enemy. Well, that's what's happening here, except now the enemy is the Babylonian army. And they are sounding the alarm of war. And destruction upon destruction. Breaking upon breaking. News of, one violent calamity after another. And they all following close on each other. Destruction upon destruction is cried, for the whole land is spoiled. And that is what's going to happen. Remember, this would be the second time Nebuchadnezzar comes and besiege. He's already passed through once to take captivity of everybody, but this is the second time when he comes back to destroy the city. Okay? The whole land is spoiled. Suddenly are my tents spoiled. Okay? And again, this is destruction. This is mass panic. Okay? Because a lot of at the time, a lot of the children of Israel were still nomadic, living in tents. They'd take their crops, move their crops around, take their cattle, move them to new pastures. My tents are spoiled, and my curtains in a moment. Curtains. This refers to like the door flap on your tent. This is the curtain on your tent, and it's just a continued picture of tents. And if your curtains of your tent are ripped down, then that makes it easier for people to get in. Well, still easy, but makes it easier. And how long shall I see the standard and hear the sound of the trumpet? Again, marching armies, they march with their flag. You got a flag carrier, a standard bearer out front, and he's usually the first target of any, because he doesn't have a weapon. All he has is the flag. He is leading the troops on with their standard of war, and that's how long is this siege going to last? How long am I going to see this standard of war and hear the sound of the trumpet, the war trumpets and the warning, all of that, just horrible destruction and what's going to happen with them. And Jeremiah is sounding the alarm for Jerusalem and Judah. Hey guys, it's coming. I'm sounding that alarm. Get ready. And they are not listening. They're not paying attention. In fact, we find out later in Jeremiah that the king of Jerusalem at the time, the king throws him in jail, throws him in a mud pit, in a deep, dark mud pit. And, because of what, just because he's warning them, destruction's coming, destruction upon destruction is coming. Well, for my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children. gross, disobedient. It's like drunken. He's I've heard, like in the movies, and places like that. He was a drunken sot. Have you heard that? Anybody heard that one? Okay, yeah. He's drunk. He's just falling down, babbling, drunk, and that would be so a sottish child would be similar to that. Of course, remember, God calls His people His children. We are God's children, and they are sottish children. They're gross. They're dirty. They're drunk. Can't speak right. Babbling and murmuring, and they have none understanding. Okay. Oh, and then it says, hey, they are wise to do evil. Okay. Oh yeah, they'll do evil at the drop of a hat, but to do good, they have no knowledge. That's where we'll quit for today. Verse 23, I beheld the earth, and it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light. This is referring back to creation. This is how, it's that way, just exactly like it was before creation. And